I'm joined now by Riddick. And Brian Flores risks a lot, everything really, in doing what he's done here. But he says, and I quote, "The need for change is bigger than my personal goals." And there's a lot to it. So I would just ask broadly how you reacted when you heard this news.
You know, Scott, I just took a deep breath, and a feeling of exhaustion came over me, and then a feeling of kind of like resilience, you know, a feeling of just really trying to figure out what it is that I could do myself personally alongside a guy like Brian Flores to continue to advance the conversation surrounding minority hiring practices in the NFL, both at the head coach level and general manager level. Because right now, look, we all know what the problems are. The statistics really speak for themselves. The numbers speak for themselves for a league that's 77% black, but just one black head coach right now. Is this totally unacceptable? We all know that, and we can pontificate and discuss that for days, for hours, you know, and on and on and on and round and round. But really, what are the solutions? That's what Brian Flores is looking for. What are the solutions? That's what I've been looking for. You and I have had this conversation many different times, and you've had this conversation with many other people many different times. What are the solutions to affect meaningful, lasting change as far as black coaches, black general managers having the kind of representation in the National Football League that is fair and equitable in 2022? What are those solutions? So that's really where my mind shifted to immediately.
I want to get to that, and because you're right, we could spend the entirety of this hour on all of this because it's a lot. But I think our audience is pretty perceptive. They know that you're my friend. Hell, I've openly lobbied for you to get interviews, and it means we wouldn't work together, but I wouldn't care because it would mean that you're running an NFL team. You're not saying it, I'm saying it. Like, you're not a box to check. Your time's too valuable for that. I just wonder, as you look back on them, do they feel like you were being interviewed for a job you were really up for?
I would say that not all of them felt the same. Okay, as far as how serious the people on the other end were, as far as really looking at me as a viable candidate. But I can't say I ever came away from them feeling as though I was just checking a box for anyone. So, you know, that is a plus for me personally. I think, though, right now it's really just about how do we get owners to arrive at the conclusion that someone like myself, someone like Brian Flores, someone like Todd Bowles, someone like Leslie Frazier, someone like Eric Bieniemy aren't just box checkers.
Right. That
they are judged on a fair and equal and level playing field, and ultimately they secure these jobs. That's what I'm sure Brian Flores is ultimately extremely frustrated about, just as many of the black head coach candidates are right now, many of the black general manager candidates are. And I myself have been, you know, throughout my career. How do we get it to the point where we aren't just getting FaceTime with owners and chief decision makers, but we're securing the jobs because we were the best qualified candidate, not because someone felt sorry for us, not because someone felt as though, well, we need to step up to the plate now and do something because we know that the representation is not where it needs to be, but because we were the ones who were most qualified and capable of leading your franchise. And right now, as the league is presently compromised, I don't know if it's set up to where we can get to where we want to get to unless some things change at the ownership level in a meaningful and significant way.
About that, and the answer to how does change occur, how significant would a black owner in the NFL be? I mean, just one. How significant would that be?
It would be huge. It would be huge. This is one of the most exclusive ownership clubs as far as the different professional leagues in America and around the world. This is one of the most exclusive ownership clubs there is. For a black man, for a minority, and a black man in particular, to own an NFL franchise would be a huge first step. We are naturally drawn to people who we share common backgrounds with, people who look like us, who have shared experiences with us. And you know what? That's never going to change. It's just not. And obviously, more black owners in the NFL would more than likely lead to more black head coaches and general managers. You can put as many rules in place. You can say, hey, you have to interview 25 black coaches per year. And you know what some owners will do? They'll go check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they'll still hire who they want because that's the way it's set up. They can hire who they want, and that's okay. That's okay. You should be able to hire who you want. It just shouldn't bear out that, or rather result in the fact that every single person except for one in the NFL right now who is able to attain one of these jobs is white. It should not, or rather is a non-black man. It should not end up that way. And that's where right now people like Brian Flores, people like myself, people like many others who are aspiring to be general managers and head coaches are just fed up to hear with having to constantly address this situation and spin our wheels in the mud trying to figure out why are we not gaining the kind of traction that is necessary in order for people to now look at this, kind of situation and go, okay, now we're where we need to be.
One of these days, you're going to have one of those jobs, and one of these days, you and I are going to have this conversation any longer. And I look forward, Louis, to both of those days. And I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Scott. In the meantime, I'm always happy to be on and talk with you. I love you, man.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.